On the 27th of September 2011, in a momentous and topical decision, the Australian Government formally agreed, after 110 years of an Australian Defence Force, to the removal of gender restrictions from ADF combat. Inclusion of females within the Royal Australian Infantry Corps being the most debated and argued of all these roles. The individual infantryman is a part of a number of collective identities. First, he is part of a team embedded within a section of 12 men. They are close-knit and cohesive, whose lives can rest in each other's hands. They are interdependent. Sections form part of a platoon, who in turn form part of a company, who in turn form part of a battalion, then brigade, division, and finally a part of the Army and wider Australian Defence Force. The role and missions of the ADF, Army and Infantry are a part of who the infantryman is, what he does and how he identifies himself. Being an infantryman is a physically demanding job where diverse identities need to rely on each other indefinitely and without question. The team and section and platoon dynamic are extremely important in the fulfillment of roles and missions. Infantrymen constantly train in order to hone their combat skills and maintain the required high levels of combat fitness. Difference exists between females and males, biologically, emotionally, psychologically, and socially. Maintaining the combat and battle fitness standards is punishing on men. Injuries and physical breakdowns are commonplace. Women will have a tougher time. Limited number of women will be physically able to achieve and maintain these standards over the term of their employment. Fewer still will want to be part of employment that has them living for long, constant periods of time in the field, knee-deep in mud, sleeping, if they get that luxury, in a shallow or deep hole they've dug themselves, walking for hours, days, perhaps weeks, with 40 plus kilos on their backs, going to the toilet in full view of their team, being constantly unable to shower for weeks on end. Women would be a small minority and males will continue to dominate. This in itself would cause increased social issues such as sexual abuse. It could also cause issues within the teams such as team dynamic disturbances if sexual relationships between team, section and platoon members occur, and when teams or sections are split due to pregnancy and maternity leave. The issue is complex and everybody has an opinion. Is anybody right or wrong? 13.9% of the ADF are women. It is a community dominated by male presence. However, since 1941, the diversity of the ADF culture has been enriched by the differences that women have brought. An aim of using the issue of women in combat roles to teach students about difference and dominance is to give them the ability to value and appreciate the differences that each person brings to any collective identity, regardless of race, class or gender. Using the issue as a discussion point and through the use of critical self-analysis of students' own subjectivities that are, as Jones says, implicated in our interpretations, will lead students to a greater understanding of the individual subjectivities when dealing with difference, diversity, and how that impacts on the individual identities as well as collective identities. Block 1 will explore basic ADF and Army history, including the history of women, important battles such as Gallipoli, and the men that were involved, such as our first BC winner Albert Jacka. Physical fitness that was undertaken by soldiers, the importance of it and how it has changed, as well as the attributes and characteristics of soldiers. Information will be presented formally, as well as through readings and students conducting minor research. Student analysis and discussion could be used to further ideas and understandings. Students will analyse and discuss ideas of traditional gendered roles and how these differences affected the Army and ADF, with roles that males and females undertook from its beginnings to the present day. Additionally, students may look at why women were accepted into the Army and ADF and how this diversification has affected the organisation. Students will conduct research into the way women in the AWAS and the RAC were treated, how they behaved, such as the wearing of their uniforms and displaying of their femininity, and why the RAC disbanded to allow integration of women into the ADF and Army as a whole. Students will also investigate how the actions of battles such as the Gallipoli campaign have come to affect and influence the Australian national identity. Block 2 will see students becoming a soldier for a day. Organised through Defence Force Recruiting Careers Promotion Team, students will visit an army base where they will meet soldiers in an infantry battalion as well as support units. They will learn some soldier skills, including Army PT, and they'll learn about what it is a soldier does. They'll gain an appreciation of what being a soldier is and what combat roles are. Students will write reports on the activities they took part in and what they gained from the experience. They will discuss any differences that they observe between male and female soldiers, such as perceived attitudes, dress, and manner. Students will participate in the fitness test. All students' results will be recorded on a blackboard. Results based on each of the two scenarios, pass or fail systems, will be discussed. The first scenario will be based on female-male standards, and the second scenario will be based on one pass level regardless of sex or age. Questions based on these scenarios will be put forward for discussion. The students will be split into teams where they will train and work together in order to compete in an obstacle course challenge. The teams will undertake a case study of their own team on the journey from team formation, training together, and competing together. After the competition, each team will present what they have discovered about the differences, dominance, and the collective identity as a team. As part of the culminating lessons, students will take part in a debate on the issue, should women be employed in combat roles? Students will each take a stance on the issue. All of those with the same opinion will be on the same team. All members of the teams will write a short 2-minute reasoning of why they take that particular view, using the facts they have learned and the opinions that they have formed over the course of the unit, especially in regards to differences. The class will debate the issue using each of their prepared reasonings. Following the debate, the students will discuss how the inclusion of women in combat roles will affect the perception of others on Australia's national identity. That concludes my presentation. I have tried to not let my own opinion on this matter show throughout it. However, as a current female member of the Australian Army, my stance is that women should not be employed in combat roles. Thank you for your audience.